Hey everybody, Douglas Scott McCarron again. I want to talk about struggling with one's demons. There's a woman recently who's sits around about a block from my house, laying on the sidewalk. She sits there and grumbles and growls all day. I thought of talking to her, but when I got within about 10 feet of her, she started shrieking at me, so I thought it was probably better to leave her alone. About every 20 minutes, she gets up and starts screaming. I suspect that her memory of her mother, about, how dare you do this to me? You were supposed to protect me. I was your daughter. You know, Dad was right about you. In fact, she says Dad was right about you. Makes me think she's talking about her mother. But, her mother's not there. She's screaming at a internal memory or feeling. I, used to do this for about 65 years. Well, maybe the first 5 years of my life I wasn't doing it, so about 60 years. Um, I've talked about this in other times, but it didn't puzzle me at first because I always yelled at it like it was real, like it was happening right now, but it was a past event. And there's something in the human being that just kind of, it's like it's not just a memory, it's like this tormenting energy that kind of growls at me, and it's it's almost like it's this room full of reflecting mirrors, and it's like, and it goes over here, and it keeps talking all around and going on and on. You know, perfect example is I used to sit here and get upset at women that I would decide my inner world were my fancy and we would get along and be perfect, and then they wouldn't want to talk to me and I'd get mad at them. Never said a word to them, but I'd be inside of my head grumbling and pissing and moaning and being pissed off and you don't love me. And I had never talked to them. So it kind of raises the question, who was I actually in love with? I mean, it seemed like there was this feeling that I was unlovable, and if I had a girlfriend, that would prove that I didn't suck. And so I would glom onto whichever female, and then if she wasn't interested, that proved I sucked, and I was mad at her, even though she probably didn't even know I had an interest in her in the first place. So, what is that thing, that part of me? What is this thing that this woman is screaming at on the streets? And she's not the only one like it. Even people that have positive views, they're actually talking to this inner story and feeling. You know, Putin, for instance, never met the guy, but he seems to be absolutely convinced there's a Russia, and he wants to go and reconquer it all and put it back together. Now, it could also be that he just wants to gather all this stuff so he can be rich and powerful. I don't know. I don't know Vladimir Putin. He's apparently been willing to sacrifice 680,000 plus of his people and killed, wounded, and missing, and heading on toward a 750,000 here. Moved the front line, what, 38 kilometers in a year? Just seems really dumb. Or you have somebody like Donald Trump. Never met Donald Trump, don't know him, but I find it very weird that he sits there and he refers to himself as Trump. Like he's talking in the third person. No, I don't know. Maybe he doesn't think that way. Maybe he's just got branding down to such a point that he's just Trump, 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 Trump. But it is odd that he talks about himself that way. And then other people seem to assign their beliefs of what's going on to him, and then they become his followers. And then there's other people assigning, how horrible a human being is and he has to be resisted. And we're all sitting in our inner judgments and dreams about what the world is and judging each other and blaming and pointing at each other. And it seems to come out from, when I was a kid. In my childhood, you just start, something's wrong, somebody's got to be blamed, and those people who aren't like me, they're the ones who are bad. I watch television and it sounds like we're about to have a violent revolution where both sides are going to shoot each other and everybody hates each other, and yet, I walk down the road and everybody seems to be nice and calm. Hi, how are you? So I don't know, maybe it's just all stirred up on television. But it is weird that people seem to get very much into this inner story and this feeling. It's like this energy that reflects itself, and it's like electric almost. And it just really charges you up and gets you upset. And it holds on to you all of one's life. Such that this woman's sitting on this street corner in torn up shorts, one shoe, a t-shirt, and a blanket laying on the ground, and getting up, about 20 minutes ago, it's nighttime, she was yelling and screaming really hard. Police don't do anything because she's not violent. She's not attacking anybody. But this woman's just so enraptured and ensnared inside of her inner feelings and thoughts. But, people who are like, well, I'm going to get a car and get a bunch of money and get a house. It's not like her, but that's also fairly much judging oneself and the world and how to be something. It's like we create a meaning. Like I created, if a woman loved me, I wouldn't suck. We all create a meaning, and if we get to that meaning, it's going to prove something. And a lot of times you get there and it doesn't. And, more than one celebrity has become famous, and then you see him kind of collapse and fall apart because they discover they're human beings too. It always reminds me of, I studied history and theology, and the difference between the earth and the world. The earth is this big rock with water on it that we float around through infinite space on. The world, the literal meaning of the word means remembrance of a man, how you reassemble your members. Remember. And so how you remember me in your mind, you're remembering me. Or how society remembers you. And it always struck me because people laugh at the people in the Middle Ages because, they were afraid to sail to the edge of the earth and fall off the edge. Except they didn't believe that. That's just something we believe that they believe so we can make fun of them. You can look this up online if you want to. The Greeks figured out 300 or 400 years, and not just the Greeks. A lot of people figured out, I just happen to know the Greeks. But the earth was somewhat circular just by using mathematics and looking at, you get up on a big mountain and you look out there, you can see the earth's got kind of a curve to it. You don't see it at ocean level. You go up high enough, you can see it. So I recall Aristotle argued against the world being round because of the antipodes. It's been about 40 years since I read on this, so I may have this wrong, but the antipodes are the people that were supposedly on the other side of the world. And because there was one way for humans to stand this way, like the way we are, if you got on the other side of the world, they're standing on their heads, and that's stupid. Therefore, the world's not round. That passed for reason. But, he was Aristotle. Anyway, the thing is in the Middle Ages, when they were talking about falling off the edge of the world, they weren't talking about falling off the earth. They were falling off the edge of your world, off your perceptions of what life are, into the infinite. Like, you would always see these symbols of a table, and there'd be all these ships and, buildings and stuff. And if you look at your desk, there's a bunch of things there, and they're defined. And if you take all those things off, it looks like there's nothing on the table. But there is. That's the thing people always miss, because they always look at the objects. What they don't notice is the air that's on the table. And that air goes on forever. Up into space and out to infinite space. And the idea of falling off the edge of the world was falling off of, in my case, my Douglas McCarron, my personality. Letting it go silent. And it wasn't that I escaped from here and went out there, which is what I thought for many years. It's that when Douglas McCarron finally went silent, it was like that air was already on the table. It just kind of poked a little hole in my awareness and flooded in. And I stopped being mean and vicious and vindictive and self-loathing and bitchy and any other word you can think, and suddenly became very calm and peaceful in about 10 or 15 minutes. So I'm sharing this because I see this woman suffering and I want to do something, but I don't know that there's something I can do. And also, like, if you are living in your world and you feel empty or not happy or not fulfilled, I suggest this is the way to go. Money, making money, it's an impression you have. It's a thought to buy stuff with. The way to buy a feeling that'll make you feel better. It's not a question of buying a feeling that'll make you feel better. It's letting go of whatever it is that's making you not feel good. I've read in a lot of religious books that, we show up here with a purpose, and you're supposed to fulfill that purpose. But I've rapidly come to the conclusion that it's not that you're supposed to fulfill that purpose. It's that purpose brought you here, and you need to just let go of it. Willingly and just willingly. Because when you let go of that purpose, it lets go of you. And what's left there is that air, that space that goes on forever into eternity. And I suggest that's what eternal life is. Not that you live forever, but in your life, you live in eternity. Okay, thank you.